Welcome to the Business Vitality Podcast. My name is Cantey. I am the host and an executive coach. I work with teams, individuals, and leaders to help create measured leadership change. We do that using practical applications, and our clients are creating 100% measured results as seen by those around them. Not necessarily what I think or what they think, but what the other people are seeing. And they are being recognized for the hard work that they're doing. If you're interested in learning more about some of the work that we're doing, you can learn more at catherinecantey.com. I would love for you to subscribe to this show, to Business Vitality. This is my way to continue to pay it forward and share business best practices. Stay tuned and listen to the interview. Thanks for being here. Harold Turner, you are the Senior Project Manager of Thompson Turner Construction, found on the web at turner.thompsonconstructiongroup.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so kind of at a high level, can you talk about what you do and a little bit about Thompson Turner Construction?
Yeah, so Thompson Turner is a big commercial general contractor in South Carolina. And, I'd say 90% of our business is kind of K-12 and higher ed. And we do some private developments and stuff like that as well. But my role for Thompson Turner, I'm kind of focused on the upstate of South Carolina. So I manage multiple projects ranging from, $1 million up to $70 million projects at a time. So all over the upstate from, Clemson University, Anderson to Greenville and Spartanburg.
So I'm curious, what makes Thompson Turner different than the other construction companies that are out there?
I mean, I would say we're different in a couple of ways. I think one of our unique things is just our culture. We've grown a lot over the past few years, and even with all that growth, I feel like we've still maintained that family feel and small company feel. But I think another thing that sets us apart is just our, the way we handle projects and the way we deal with clients. We're very open book, honest, straightforward, and, like to work together as a team. And, I think if you talk to any of our clients, they would say they value, our honesty and open book policy.
I think it's helpful. I think it's unique in construction to be able to have that open book and conversation between the construction group and the owner and the designer, and to be able to collaborate like that. Do you mind talking about, I guess, the teamwork aspect? And you mentioned culture. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. There's a lot of talk about culture in all the industries that are out there right now, that those that survive will have the culture. They'll have the relationships with people, the teams that are going to be built. Can you talk about maybe just, I know we can talk about it in theory, but what are the day-to-day things that you're doing to maintain that culture and these relationships? Because it is important to be able, in my opinion, to be able to keep that.
Yeah, in construction, it's a very easy industry to get bogged down in all the work. There's constant stuff all the time being thrown at you. Trying to stay in budget, stay in schedule, deliver quality product. And, I think it's easy for a team to get bogged down in all of that. But, I think one of the most important things I've learned as of recent is just how important it is to have quality time with your team. Not only checking boxes and dotting I's and crossing T's, but just sitting down, putting your devices away and listening and having good quality conversation and thinking time. And then, I also think it's important to build relationships with all your team members, not just, an exchange of work stuff, but also having a relationship and doing things outside of work, having fun together. It's funny. I was recently struggling with a coworker. Not, everything was going okay, but it was a little bumpy. And, him and I got away for one afternoon, went and spent a couple hours doing something fun. And it's just amazing how after doing that one little thing, how the project and everything just started to flow. Our communication was flowing. And we went from feeling like we were kind of not on the same page to, right in line, step in step, seeing eye to eye, and things going really well. So it's interesting how we're all busy and we want to do, but I think it's very important to take a few minutes or take a couple hours and spend some quality time together and just have fun.
Yeah, you don't see that a whole lot. And I think that helps build the relationships and gels that team together. And I'm guessing you're doing that with across the board with all the team members, because when you're building these projects that are huge, you've got to be able to bridge the communication across the board. And that's important to be able to do. What do you, I'd like to kind of ask questions before, and part of it led me to this one, which is, you're going to have the individuals who undermine teamwork and that just don't want to, evolve with us. Do you mind kind of talking about that a little bit more? Because you've got a success story. Do you have maybe another one of, well, the first chance didn't work, but maybe there was a couple more tries? And, I hate to say it. Well, I don't hate to say it, but construction, I mean, that's a hard industry to be in. You are going to come up with some interesting personalities. So you're going to probably bump up against this in an above average process, I would think. So do you mind talking about how do you battle those or work with those that may be undermining it?
No, definitely. I think whether you're in banking or construction or wherever, you're always going to run into interesting people, and it takes all kinds to make the world go around. But throughout my career, I've really learned that you've got to figure out what makes people tick, especially people who are, like you say, undermining teamwork. And, like I said earlier, some of that starts with just building a relationship, building some trust with them. And, I've got an example a little while back of a guy who, maybe didn't work on one team. And so we went to another team and he was struggling there. But, through having good conversation and not just telling him what to do, but asking him questions and getting him thinking about, okay, why are these things important? Why is teamwork important? Why do we do this? Helping him understand the why and getting him set up on the right team. He was able over the last few months to really start to shine and grow and learn and do good things. So, I think another aspect of it too is paying close attention to what people are good at. Everybody can bring some sort of value to the team. And, sometimes just because you hire somebody as a, assistant project manager or a superintendent doesn't mean that, okay, no matter what, they're doing these X, Y, or Z things. I've got a recent example of a guy who's a superintendent. And, at time, in our mind, a superintendent is somebody who's out in the field on a daily basis, working right there with the subs hand in hand. But, as I worked with him over a year's time, started to realize, golly, he's got a lot of, really project manager traits and stuff that he's good at, such as scheduling and things like that. And so it's just interesting how learning that over a year, and then now we're on a new project, and he actually built the entire schedule and did a great job with it, which is something you wouldn't usually see from a superintendent.
Well, it sounds like they're growing and they're evolving, and as the business is growing, they're growing. And I think we all have potential. We just got to find it. Like you said, we got to find what we're good at and what we excel at, and then put us in those roles. And you probably could excel even further than, the role that we were currently in. It's kind of my thought. What are your thoughts on that?
And something funny is, it's sometimes the simplest things can create, big impact and big change. One of the things that we hold in high esteem or high standard is our safety program. And so, every week we got to do safety audits, and we're walking jobs and checking these things. Well, nobody, quote unquote, wants to do safety audits or has time to do them. And so, after years and years of trying to figure out how do you get people to do these things, we introduce a simple thing such as a monthly award of a safety belt and a lunch of your choice, and created some competition. And, it's just amazing to see what a little bit of competition between everybody will do and how it'll make things progress. So
it's the carrot and the stick,
That's it.
So you found the carrot.
Tracking things and then celebrating the little successes, some of those little things are a big deal, and people love working towards the carrot or the trophy.
Right. Do you have an example that comes to mind in regards to the little things that lead to something significant? People that have followed me, they've heard me talk about it for years. I like to hear other people's perspectives.
One of the things I talked about earlier is, when I started doing this leadership program, was looking for these big picture things and all these big, great things that were going to make big impact. And, I was kind of struggling at one point, and called somebody else, an executive within our company, and said, "Hey, you got any advice on how I can do better connecting with my team?" And he said, "Well, I just started leaving my phone in the car." And I was like, "How do you leave your phone in the car? That's our lifeline. Everybody's calling us all the time, emailing us all the time, so much going on." He said, "Man, you'll be amazed at what happens. Just try it." And so I was like, "All right, whatever. We'll give it a shot and see what happens." And, just that simple thing of putting away my devices when I go meet with my teams has had such a huge impact. The first time I did it, it felt a little awkward and a little off. I was like, "Oh, I don't have my, my safety net, my phone or whatever." But, it was amazing just the way the conversation started to flow and things started to happen. And we identified some critical, potential tripping hazards in the project and came up with some top strategy. And it's just really changed the whole dynamic of my team meetings by simply putting away my phone for 30 minutes.
So did you lose anything? Did you lose some text or phone call that was just life-changing that you should have had your phone? Because people, they don't want to leave their phone in the car. So what was the consequence? Did something major happen and you missed it?
No, there was no consequences. Everything went good. Just because somebody's calling or texting you at a certain time, yes, there's certain scenarios where you have to answer the phone and have to take care of things, but usually things can wait 30 minutes so that you can have a meaningful meeting and have meaningful time with your team.
That is awesome. Yeah, I think when we put the phones down, I know at least for me, if I put it down, I get so much more done in that little block of time than me looking at that phone and reacting versus being proactive and owning my own time. So I think that is
first thing in the morning. I used to come in the office and crank the computer up, get into emails, texting, calling. And, over the past few months, I've started protecting the first half hour of my day to just sit down with a pen and paper and think through what I need to do and just think, not really have an agenda, think through my day, think through my week, the month, what's coming up in the future. And, man, that's had a huge impact on me as well.
Talk about that. How do you start that? Because that sounds like an anxiety attack for most people. So talk about it. Do you just block 30 minutes and roll into it, or how does that happen?
I think, I guess the way it started for me was really on my drive into work. I used to be listening to podcasts or music or making calls or texting or trying to figuring out what I was going to do for the day. And then it kind of rolled over into, all right, well, I put that stuff away and just had kind of quiet time on the way in, just where I could clear my head and think. And then that rolled over to, all right, well, it'd be nice to be kind of sitting at my desk with a pen and paper, because it's amazing the stuff that'll just jump into your head when you have quiet time to think and you're not so clouded with all these social media, text messages, calls, emails, all that stuff. That'll all be there when you're done. But just by now, it's a habit of scheduling the first 30 minutes of my day and just protecting it on my calendar where I can sit down, plan my week, plan my day, figure out how to deal with any conflicts that I may have in my schedule, and also just think about, what's going to have an impact on my week. What is the top priority? It's just really neat how quiet time will impact and the things that'll jump into your head that you otherwise would miss.
You see other people starting to pick up on that and maybe trying it themselves, or?
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to one of my coworkers up here, and we were talking about, I was kind of telling him about this, and he was like, "Oh man, how do you do that? What do you do?" And so I was explaining it to him, and so now he's giving it a shot and seeing how it's going. And it's just really neat that by doing these things, somebody will walk by and be like, "Why is his computer off? Like, what's going on in there? He's not doing anything." And then they'll start asking questions, and really, I feel like that's a stepping stone to creating, other thinkers, quote unquote. I feel like one of the biggest things that I can do to benefit me and my growth is to invest time and help others grow. I feel like my goal every day or every year, one of my goals is all right, I want to train somebody to take my place. I want them to take my job. A lot of people work in fear of, I don't want somebody to take my job or my position. But, I feel like that's one of the things with our culture here. We're really big on, hey, I want to build somebody else to take my position as soon as possible so that I can create room for growth for myself as well in my career.
Yeah. I know in my past, if I grew and then grew some other people around me, they would take over the stuff that I was doing. And it opened up doors to new opportunities that I didn't even know was there, but I had to create the space in order to know and be able to see what was on the other side. And it's scary because we sometimes just, I guess, that human nature scarcity mindset, here we are protecting where we are. And really we need to teach in order for us to create the space to be able to grow. So,
yeah. And, we're in the society, or, as you go through school and stuff, it's all about finishing this assignment, turning it in and getting an A or getting 100 and celebrating that. And so, it's a really hard thing to kind of start to comprehend that, hey, sometimes X's and O's and turning in this or that, so a lot of times we want to hold on to those things that we're good at, whether it's doing your budget updates or doing a schedule update. You feel accomplished when you do it and turn it in. But, and it was really hard for me to grasp and understand that, hey, by doing less, sometimes you actually are getting more done and more things are happening. So it's been really neat to kind of go through this and test things and maybe let go of some things that I otherwise want to hold on to, and just seeing new possibilities and new potential for growth.
You said something earlier about when you start to do the planning, the computer's closed, the cell phone's put away, the electronics aren't there. You said something that stood out, and it said, people are walking by and they're saying he's not doing anything. And I think the way we start, we got to work really hard in the beginning of our careers doing what I call the TPS reports and the things that we got to do. And we keep thinking that we got to keep doing this stuff to get us here. And really, if we're going to grow the business, we're going to grow ourselves and grow the people around us, we got to do something different. And so when you said they think I'm not doing anything, I think if we've had any kind of management leadership position, we can agree, yeah, to the outsider, it looks like we're not doing something, but really there's something else going on. Do you mind talking about that transition and the fact that it looks like you're not doing anything, but I'm going to be honest, I know you're doing things, but talk about that if you don't mind.
Yeah, I've got a pretty funny story about it, actually. So, the other day I was, with how fast paced and how much we have going on and all the meetings and everything, you might only get 30 minutes to an hour of time each day to sit down and think or get something done. And so, I was I'm kind of laughing to myself because the other day I was in here kind of having my first 30 minutes of the day and trying to get organized and think through some things without the computer and phone up. And I'm working with my little brother right now, and he was wanting to ask me some questions and look at some stuff. And he walks by and comes in and says, "Hey, can you come in here in the conference room and look at this and want to go over this budget and look at everything?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, give me a few minutes. I gotta, give me about 15 or 20 minutes. I'll be right." He's like, "Well, I don't understand. I mean, you're just sitting in here doing nothing. Like, why can't you come look at it right now?" And I kind of laugh because sometimes I have to think back to, all right, he's 7 years younger than me. So I think back to 7 years ago where I was. And, if I saw Hal or Will or somebody, I was like, oh, well, they're out doing nothing. They're playing golf or doing this, doing that, and doing nothing. But, as you grow, you start to realize that, that the company, in order for the company and you and everyone to grow, you have to have time to sit down and think through things and think through, what is going to have an impact on today, or how is this going to impact our clients or our potential future work and all of that. And, it's just funny to watch other people as they grow, and they'll start to see how these things can impact you and create good results too. But it's funny how from the outside looking in, when somebody comes by, they're like, oh, I don't see you doing anything. But I had a real aha moment a few months ago where I was talking to one of my stakeholders, and he was like, yeah, it took me forever to realize that the X's and O's and the reports, you have to do all those things to earn respect and earn your opportunity to move up and all of that. That's a part of it. And you have to go through that, and you have to have those experiences to be able to grow in your career, and you really have to know your trade and know what you're doing. But then at some point it's a shift to, all right, how do I've had these experiences. I've got a pretty good idea of the construction industry and what we're doing, what we're trying to achieve, who we are. How do I take somebody who just started and bring them to this point in as quick as time as possible? I don't want it to take them the 15 years it took me to get here. And, just by having some of that quiet time, it allows me time to think through and create strategy and ways to try to impact these other guys. And I think one of the biggest impacts is just when they see you doing something and they see you, quote unquote, doing nothing, and it piques their interest, and anyways, creates opportunity for questions and for growth.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious, you guys are growing pretty fast, and you're in the upstate area. Do you mind just kind of talking a little bit more about maybe your ideal client and what you're looking for as you continue to grow? Because construction means so many different things to different people, and folks that are listening, they may not know, exactly what is your ideal client that you're looking for.
Yeah. So, we're in commercial construction, and, even commercial construction means a lot of things to a lot of different people. There's, private market, there's public market, there's industrial construction, there's all sorts of constructions, but our focus is predominantly on K-12 and higher ed work. And we predominantly do the CM at risk delivery method. So our goal is to really get in together with the owner and architect and create a collaborative approach to construction. In the old days, all there was hard bid, where, hey, everybody turns in their number and the lowest price wins. But, in that process, there's a lot of back and forth on scope, and there's change orders, and 9 times out of 10, it ends up in litigation. So, we've really kind of been a front runner on the CM at risk process, and really working collaboratively with owners and architects to, one, instead of the design team designing in a bubble and then us pricing in a bubble, we're working together. The owner is also there saying, hey, I want this project to be within this budget. And so we work together hand in hand with the architect as we go through the design process and, do preliminary 50% and 100% budgets to make sure that, hey, what they're designing does fit within their budget, which lets us start on time and get done on time and within budget. But so I would say, our ideal client or our bread and butter right now is like the K-12 market, building schools, and then also higher ed. Worked on the Clemson football stadium, working on some other athletics projects there, about to start a library at USC Upstate. So, I really feel like we have a lot of potential for growth in the higher ed market in the Upstate, and then also really emphasized over the past few years getting into healthcare, and so I think there's a lot of potential for growth there too.
That's interesting. Okay, so K through 12. Higher ed, and then next is healthcare. We're already in healthcare.
Right.
Already?
Yeah, we're already in healthcare. We've got stuff going on in the lower part of the state with MUSC and Prisma, and over the past 5 years, obviously with COVID and all this stuff, I think healthcare has had a renewed focus, and so we've kind of strategically started to look into that market and working there.
I think it's interesting. So when you describe your delivery method, you use words like collaboration or a collaborative approach, but it also ties back into the culture and who you guys are. And then, construction is just, it's a tough industry. You've got so many different subs, so many different partners that are out there. It kind of reminds me of my days in the bank of what I would refer to as silos. We have a silo for the legal team, a silo for procurement, a silo for technology, a silo for marketing. Like everybody lives in these boxes, and you can take this same kind of old method that we would have in the bank back in the day, and then you would have that back in the construction industry. Of kind of silo partnerships, and you're really breaking that stuff down and differentiating yourself in the market, and what I would call co-create solutions that are mutually beneficial for everybody. And so it makes it, it's a lot of money. It's a big project, but you can enjoy it at the same time because you're co-creating, you're building these relationships, and it really just ties back into what we talked about at the beginning, building relationships, building the team. And for me, it sounds like it starts at home. It starts with self, and then it grows to the team, and then it grows to the partners that are outside. Do you mind just kind of closing that loop and just talking about, I don't know if you see this pattern as well, but it's just something that just kind of seems like a thread that's kind of pulling out of this conversation. Do you mind expanding on it?
Yeah. And, like you said, I think relationships are everything. And especially in our business and what we do, it's very relationship driven from getting the project. But, I think one of the neat things with us is that within our culture, like we said, we value relationships. And so that's a, very high focus when we start any project is the relationship with the owner and architect. And, we don't want to just do this one project. We want to do multiple projects and continue to work together. And, I think a lot of that comes back to, being open book and honest and trusting each other and doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. I was laughing. I was telling somebody the other day, I said, hey, we're about to start a new project with this new client. And, one of the things I always tell people is that you only get one chance for a first impression. And so, as we're working with a new client, we know what we do and we know the value that we bring, but they don't necessarily know. And so we got to start over and show them all the different things that we do and why, hey, this is why you hired us. We're not going to be like your typical construction company and have excuses and delays and be over budget. We're going to deliver what we say we are going to deliver when we say we're going to deliver it. And, it really shows, and it's really neat to see how I just recently finished a project, how it all comes around at the end, and how important the relationships are. Because they came to me at the end, and I said, "Hey, do you have any feedback on what we can do better?" And it's awesome to hear them talk about how different it was than other construction processes and other jobs they've done, and how it was truly collaborative. I think there's a lot of people that do see them at risk and do this, but truly being open book and collaborative and always coming with solutions instead of just problems, has a real impact. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be considerate of your time. We could go down a whole path of providing solutions and not problems. I know that's a whole nother topic, but if someone wants to learn more about you, they want to get in touch with you, they're like, gosh, this sounds pretty good. How do they reach out to you, Harold?
I guess the best way, you can, visit our website or you could email me directly at hlturner@thompsonturner.com.
Fantastic. All right, Harold, thank you so much. Harold, you are the Senior Project Manager of Thompson Turner Construction, found on the web at turner.thompsonconstructiongroup.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the episode. If you like it, please subscribe, share this episode or this show with other people around you. The greatest form of a compliment is a referral. I really appreciate them. And if you think that you want to learn more about some of the work we're doing, I encourage you to reach out to CatherineCantey.com. You can schedule a call or just continue to read articles and information that we post out there. Thank you so much for being here.